Take some time tonight. We're doing a series of how-tos, and in the last few weeks you've had some great unique how-to this and how-to that. Tonight I want to talk about how to get out of debt. And sinful things, some things are easy to do. It's easy to get into debt. It's easy to get out of shape, but it's not easy to get in shape. Money is a very touchy thing, and not very many people just say, hey, you know what, I'm a mess, I need help with my money. But that's really what a lot of people need to say. And so tonight, a little more of a delicate subject, and I'll share some personal illustrations. I can get away with that because my wife's in the nursery tonight, as long as you all promise to not tell her what I talk about. So look at either the top of your handout or look in your Bible at Proverbs chapter 27. And is there anybody that doesn't have a handout? Anybody who doesn't have one? Ushers, we've got quite a few people up front that don't have these. If you could go back, give me just a minute, folks that need them, and grab some of those handouts, ushers. And in my front left, there's about a dozen people that need one. So I think there should be some there. The half sheet that says how to get out of debt. We'll get them up here in just a minute. So let me first just talk about, while we're waiting to get everybody a handout, debt. You may be in debt through no fault of your own. When they get up here to the front, just slip a hand up, Brother Williams, and Brother Jake's got one. You could get a change in the economy, change in your health. There's all kinds of things that can get you in a spot where suddenly you have bills you can't pay, and you have to decide what to do with those bills. It's just not it's not difficult, and there are many situations that you can get into. You bought a piece of property that you thought this will be a good investment, and then the market crashed, and suddenly you owe $50,000 more than the property's worth. And that's not a sinful thing. That's speculation, and speculation sometimes can be not so good. It's kind of like gambling. Other times we get into debt because of misspending. We were not diligent. We didn't think. We didn't plan well, and we find ourselves in debt because we just spent more than we had. Sometimes we can get into debt because of sinful things, and we chose stuff over right. And so don't beat yourself up if you've got a debt issue, because I'd be willing to say most everybody in this room has at one time or another looked at their finances and thought, well, we're in a mess. And if you haven't, you ought to look up to heaven and say thank God. But I would say well over half of us, I don't know, I'm just guessing, I know we have, we thought we had everything all laid out, but God unlaid it, and all of a sudden we was a mess. We were almost homeless, but it was a happy homeless. And so anyway, tell that to your wife. We may be homeless, honey, but we'll be happy. She says, no, we ain't. We may be homeless, and I'll tell you this, we won't be happy. Look at that first verse, Proverbs 27, verse 23. It says, be diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. Now, this is a farming, agricultural culture, and if you look at the verses following that, he says, you be diligent, work at it. Know the state of your flocks, look well to your herds. Verse 24, for riches are not forever. You got everything together here, don't plan on it staying like that. Everything's all laid out just right. Don't bet on that. And doth the crown endure to every generation? You might even be in a position of great leadership, and you could lose that in a heartbeat. Verse 25, the hay appeareth, and the tender grass showeth itself. The herbs of the mountain are gathered. The lambs are for thy clothing. The goats are for the price of the field. Thou shalt have goats' milk enough for thy food, and for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance of thy maidens. He said, if you've got some livestock and you've got some grass to graze them on, you're in good shape. Just Rejoice in it. But be careful and be diligent. And that's the term I want you to notice in verse 27. Tonight we're going to talk some about this matter of being diligent. The second verse I put in your outline, Proverbs 8:12, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. Wisdom and prudence, I won't spend a lot of time on defining those terms. I'll just say this. Wisdom is the ability to see the end result of a given action. Prudence is pretty similar. A prudent person is a careful person, someone who looks well to their decisions, and they're guarded and they're careful. And if we want to fix a financial problem that we're in, we need to be careful. We need to be thoughtful. We need to plan. We need to make some decisions. Now you'll notice in your outline, you're going to notice some repetition. Before number 3, it says pray. Before number 5, it says pray. Before number 6, it says pray. Before number 7, it says pray. Before number 8, it says pray. You know why? Because if God isn't in it, it's not going to happen. It's crazy for you to think you can, in your own earthly wisdom, somehow supersede the economic work of God or of society simply because you're careful. There are people who tried and tried and tried to get their money in order, and I've heard people say, it just won't work for me. I am destined to be a mess financially. And then there's other people, and I'd love to call out names, but I wouldn't do it, who you'd think they're a wreck, and you have no idea how together they are with their money and with their home. And look, it's God. I wish Christians, now see, for the unsaved world, they can get away with all kinds of things because they're not God's children. God doesn't, you don't punish the child down the street, I hope. I hope you punish your child because they deserve it. And you say, what did they do? Doesn't matter. They did something. But God's working on you to make you Christ-like. And one of the things that God used all through the Bible is money, or in this case, agriculture. It's their money. And God will use money to work on us. That's why we've got to be so very careful about teaching character. And don't just throw money at a kid. If a kid can't get up and work hard, and work when it's hot, and work when something breaks, work when they're, I don't want to. Who asked you? Nobody asked you if you want to do it. I told you to do it. You're going to do it because you'd like to keep breathing. And you say, oh, you're so mean. I got kids all over this church here. I got kids and grandkids. Ask if I'm mean. I'm mean. And anyway, we want our kids to know how to work hard. We want them to know how to work long. We want them to know how to work when it's uncomfortable. If you coddle your children so they never have to get up when they're tired, they never have to work when they're tired. I've had our kids go to bed where they had all this homework to do, and I'm going to bed, and I just stuck my head in the door one night and said, you okay? Yep. Gonna get it done? Yes, sir. I said, all right, I'm going to bed. And they need to be able to stay up and stay up late and get their homework done. That's life. And once you hit 60, then you need to be able to take a nap in the afternoon, go to bed early, sleep in late. 38. You're 38, man, you are such a child. So, hey, life's hard. Anybody in this room who's got any measure of success has worked hard at it. Whether it be as a mother, a wife, a husband, a father in business, they've worked hard. It's hard. And so wisdom and prudence and be diligent to know the state of thy flocks. Now let me run through these, and I'm going to give you some illustrations and hopefully keep the illustrations out of this room. Number 1, clearly identify your debt. Now you can get all kinds of financial information on the internet from people or wherever. I'm just giving you some stuff that you can pull this kind of thing off anywhere you want. But I want to talk about it tonight. We're going to keep God in it. We need God's blessing. We'll get to that in a minute. Clearly identify your debt. And I know some of you, this afternoon, I had 30 or so in the afternoon service, And I thought, this whole group's probably got their money more in order than I do. What am I even doing this for? But I did it anyway, because I wanted an offering for Brother Ruiz. But you need to make a list of your debts. If you cannot, on paper, or maybe you've got this photographic mind, but if you cannot on paper know exactly what your indebtedness is, you are not on your way out of debt. You need to know what you owe. That's your car payment and your house payment and your credit card and your credit card and your other credit card and your loans, you borrowed money from people, whatever it might be. You've got to have all that stuff laid out. You should have, because this will help you later on. You should have, I gave this in case you want to scribble notes. You should have a list of who the creditor is, the total amount you owe, the minimum amount monthly you owe, the interest rate, and the due date. If you have those things all laid out in order, then you are ready to start working on it. If you don't have that, you're not working on getting out of debt. You're just panic financing. Whatever bill's most current, you pay that bill. And that's no way for a child of God to live. And so you've got to have a clearly, at the bottom of the paper, or I know you got spreadsheets and all those kind of things, and your computer, but in the bottom, you need a dollar figure. What are you in debt? If it's just your house, fine, just put your house payment down there. And if the only bill you've got is a house payment, then maybe you don't even need to do this. But if you want to get out of debt, you've got to know how much in debt you are. And when I had my come to Jesus moment financially, it was when I did this. I thought, I've got to get all this clear. And I got some debts that I should not have had. Early on, we started the church. There were things that were done, and we needed to rent a backhoe for something, and the church didn't have the money. I said, I'll just put it on my credit card and I'll pay it off, or the church will pay it off later. Yeah, it was me 1 month at a time for the next 96 months. And I had to come to a point where I put it all on paper, and I had that $1 figure in the bottom. And every month that number had to be smaller. If we starved to death, that money, that dollar, that total indebtedness had to be smaller every month. And again, I'll talk about goals here in a minute. So number one, clearly identify your debt. Make it obvious. Put everything down. I think a husband and wife should do it together, or whoever's the more money-minded do it, and make sure the other one see it. Put it on the refrigerator maybe you don't want the whole world to see it, but anyway. Put it somewhere where you both know what it is. Secondly, confess and forsake. Look at the note in your handout. Proverbs 28:13. He that confesseth his sin he that covereth his sin shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh him shall have mercy. Now, I'm not saying all of your expenditures were sinful expenditures, but if your expenditures were more than you have money to steward, it's wrong. And you may have gotten into debt because of a turn in the economy or a change in business rules or whatever it might be. It's not, it just happened. You're there. We're not blaming us. We're just saying, God, I'm in this. And I'm sorry. Remember when Nehemiah confessed the sins of Israel for forsaking God? He probably wasn't even born when those things happened. But he was over in Babylon wanting to get right, and he wanted God's blessing. See, what you want is the blessing of God. You want that hand of God on you. So whatever it takes to get the hand of God on you, that's what you need to do. And God wants you to take personal responsibility. Look at this. You have all your debts listed and say, God, I'm sorry. The Bible does say, owe no man anything except to love. That's what you owe. And I'd be willing to say most of us probably at least have one debt, a mortgage, maybe a car. And I'm not saying you're probably no better than a bank robber or a murderer. No. But I think we ought to look at that and say, God, see, what I want is the end of that verse. He that covereth his sin shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh it, them, plural, those expenditures, shall have mercy. You know what I want? I want mercy. That's what I want. And mercy isn't, God, I've been good, so would you bless me? It's, God, I've been bad, but would you bless me anyway because you're so awesome? Mercy isn't deserved. Mercy is the opposite of what we deserve. And mercy is not something that God's going to do for me because I'm so good. That's something I've earned through my faithfulness. No, mercy is, God, I'm a wreck. I need you. And I tell you, that's where you want to live. So if you look at this confess and forsake, I think it's important, however you got into your financial situation, I think it's important that you acknowledge it, that you go to God saying, I don't like it, I think it's wrong, I don't want to be this way. Number one, you're supposed to clearly identify. Number two, confess and forsake. Number three, determine to have no new debt. Now, here's what you need to do. We talked about maybe we should start this. We need, instead of AA, we need DA, Debt Anonymous. Hi, my name is Bruce. I'm in debt. And you know what happens? You have to determine you're never going to do it again. You have to say, I'm never going to do this again. You have to get just a spitefulness toward the bondage of debt, because your debt will creep up. Satan is not in a hurry. That's the one thing. He is so patient. And he'll get you a little bit more in debt and a little bit more in debt. He'll tell you young people, you college students, if you don't get a credit card, you'll never have any credit because you need to develop credit, so get a credit card. That is one of the biggest satanic lies in the world. The devil wants you to get that credit card not so you can have credit, so he can get you into debt and more in debt, and he'll just chip every month. You're going to get you a little bit more in debt, a little bit more in debt, and pretty soon you're waking up at night and you have a sick stomach. And pretty soon you want to go spend some money and your spouse says, we can't spend any money. We don't have any money. Well, what difference does it make? We're in debt anyway. What's another $100? And it's crazy. And young people, especially you young people, you ought to determine, I'm going to stay free financially. And I'm not saying don't borrow money to buy a house or to get a car if you have to do those things, but you ought to just look at that thing and you ought to hate it. You ought to just hate it. And with all your heart, you ought to decide, I'm going to beat this thing. And so number one, make sure you have an accurate, a clear-cut identify, just clearly understand and identify your debt. Number two, confess and forsake it. Number three, determine to have no new debt. Now, you're going to have to pray about that, just like a drug addict. You're an alcoholic, and every day, God, help me not get drunk today. You need to get up and say, God, help me not spend money I shouldn't spend today. God, help me not to buy what I should not buy today. God, help us. Be careful. Pray with your spouse. Nothing wrong with you and your spouse praying at bedtime or in the morning at the breakfast table and just say, God, help us get out of debt. Help us do whatever it takes to get out of debt. God, would you help us be very careful with our spending? And it was easier when we were a newly married couple, but we'd go to the thrift store. Everything we got was from thrift stores. All of our clothes, everything. And we dressed our kids in thrift store clothes till they got up about junior high, and we thought, yeah, they need to wear better clothes than this. They start caring about their clothing. But we would get whatever we were going to get, and then we'd go over to a corner, and one item at a time, we'd take them out and look at them. Say, God, do you really want us to get this? Do you really want us to get this? And we're talking about $2 items here, but we didn't have any money. We didn't have any money to throw away, because if you've gone to thrift stores much, you've bought things, and you probably did this at regular stores. You bought something and got home and thought, yeah, I did. This was not a good buy. And it's not Amazon. You can't just, shoot it back. So determine to get no new debt. You need to get rid of those credit cards. Don't lean on them. Don't say, well, I'm going to keep spending the credit card because then I'll get all this credit and I'll get these points, so I'll get to go to Disneyland for free. If you get out of debt, you can go to Disneyland and pay. Gayest place on earth? Anyway, who wants to go? Happiest place on earth. Determined to have no new debt, but also cut unnecessary spending. Now, I know we're in a big room here. Tell me about something that you could easily cut that would not, we're not talking about hurting yet. Later we'll talk about hurting. But something that'd be easy to cut that you could save, and I'm not talking about $1,000, I'm talking about $10. How about subscriptions? What's a monthly thing that you could cut out that would save money? Somebody raise a hand and then talk loud. What could you cut? Come on, be honest now. No, tell me something one of your friends could cut out. What? Coffee? No. We cut coffee out of my house. I'm going to have a very unhappy wife. I don't drink coffee. Yeah. Oh, you could cut out Starbucks. Okay, you could do that. Go over to Brett Beal. Brett Beal could open a business. Just drive through his driveway picking up coffee. Ryan, what do you think? 60 plus? Oh, Disney Plus. I thought, is there a 60 plus? I should get that app. I didn't know there was an app for people over 60. All right, Disney. Okay, so different TV apps. Okay, and all right, VidAngel. What are other things like that? Nobody. Yes, Brett. Eating out. You want to know what's funny? You're not going to. This is private, right? I always like Taco Bell. Mrs. Goddard feels like Pastor Mike Johnson. He says Taco Bell's dog food on a cracker. But prices have gone up. Eating out, it's pretty hard to eat out. We don't eat out unless we have a gift card. It's almost never do we eat out. But Mrs. Goddard, we were doing something and we're busy. She said, "You want to just go get something quick to eat?" And I said, "What would you like?" She said, "Taco Bell has this box and it's got a burrito and 2 tacos and these cinnamon twists and a drink for whatever. I don't know what it was, however many dollars. It wasn't much, $6-8 something. What is it?" You know, you go. That's where you go for a date too, huh? And I looked at my wife. I said, "You want to go to Taco Bell?" She said, "It's pretty good." She used to make fun of Taco Bell because she said, "Everything there tastes the same." And I said, "Yeah? That's what's so awesome about it." But 2 or 3 times she said, "But you know, where are you going to go? You're going to go to," somebody gave her a gift card to Cheesecake Factory. We went there. I got a steak. You have any idea what a steak costs at Cheesecake Factory? It just cost a little piece of plastic. Only mine doesn't send me a bill. It was a gift card. But decide what you're going to do about eating out. You could cut out a lot of money. College students, how much money do you spend a week eating out? And I'm not saying I'm the example because I've not been prudent and wise and discerning with money, but I remember in college I had a loaf of bread, I had a jar of peanut butter, I had a little Honey Bear, and I'd take a gallon of distilled water on my bus route. We had water bottles. They had a handle on the side, and these cute little bottles people spend $3 on. It's crazy. What else could you cut out easy? Mike? A newspaper. Do they even make newspapers? You are so old-fashioned, Mike. Yeah. Lyman? Golfing, you could trim your golfing down. There you go, right there. You could save whatever, depending where you golf, $25 or $500. What else? What is it? Magazines, all right? Any kind of any kind of subscription? There's all kinds of things. How much money do people spend on sodas and all those evil things? Do you remember, some of you young people don't know what this is. It's an old-fashioned term. It's called a lunch box. When we were kids, we had and you know what? It was a big deal. Chewy probably had one with Captain Marvel on it or something. You got a lunch box with some superhero on it. Everybody's lunchbox had something on it really cool. And they usually came with a thermos. That was great living. Long as Mom didn't put the apple on top of the sandwich. By lunchtime, it was pretty gushed. We had to put the apple in first. But thermos. Remember, you might not realize it, but when my dad left the house every day to go to work, he had a thermos full of coffee. He didn't grind his own beans. I'm not against grinding beans. It probably saves lots of money. I have no idea. I love the smell of ground coffee beans and coffee. Just don't make me drink it. Now, pray. Do this. Bow your head, not now, but sometime, and say, "God, what in my week can I cut out that's easy to cut out? Just ask God. I bet you God will show you something. You know, somebody in the afternoon service said, cut out hair coloring. I said, that is not optional. I mean, not for me, but for there are some things the ladies need. But what did somebody say? If the barn needs paint, go ahead and paint it. Mrs. Goddard had gotten artificial nails, acrylic nails, whatever kind of nails, and realized, you know what? I'm not spending that kind of money. And I think Esther, somebody showed her these things. She goes to Marshall's or wherever, and for $5 she gets all these things and sticks them on herself. It looks like a junior hire did it, but it's we're in the car. She's getting her nails done. We're in the car. Now, you ask God, what can you cut out? And I promise you there's something you could. All right, so if you want to get out of debt, number 1, clearly identify your debt. Number 2, confess and forsake. That means you're going to stop it by the grace of God. Third thing, you're going to determine to have no new debt. You have to pray. Pray and ask God to help you with it. Number 4, get advice. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 18, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. Good advice. You can get bad advice. You want good advice. You want to be very careful about going to these debt consolidation places and these people who help financial planning. I'll be very careful about that. I'm not the financial whiz, but I could refer you to people that are probably safer to listen to about financial advice. But get good advice. There is, unless you've got clear, unless you can see your bottom indebtedness going down every month, you need an advisor. You just do. If you're down a little, up a little, down a little. If I started this a long time ago, and I wanted to see that bottom line, and I would flip back 6 months, a year, 2 years, and if I couldn't see progress toward a debt-free mark in my world, then I needed help. And there's nothing wrong with that. So get advice. The Bible's full of lessons on advice. And again, I wouldn't just go out to any stranger, and I wouldn't go out to any professional. There's people who make money on helping you get out of debt. And you could end up spending more money on them. So next, pray. Number five, set priorities in spending, all right? Priorities means what's the thing that, here you have your pie, that's 100% of your money. And what's the first piece out of the pie? Tithe. You put God in there first. Whatever you're going to give God, you cut God's piece first. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Do we want all these things? Yes, then we need to put him first. Put God first in every area of life, but especially in finances. I would say then, I think you need to then take care of promised money or debts. If you're behind in a bill, if you owe a bill, look, over here is groceries, and over here is my mortgage or the electric bill. Which one should get taken care of first, food or bills? I didn't hear everyone say bills. Food or bills? And everyone says, because God said he would feed you. But God did not say he'd pay your bad debts. So you pay your debts first. And then you go to God and you say, God, I'm trying my best. Everything I've got, I've put in. I'm not saying take all of your money and pay one bill off. If it's, you can take the months, most of your bills come in increments, it's all right. Maybe before you do this too seriously, you ought to talk to somebody about it. We've got people on our staff I'd refer you to happily. But I'm going to get over here. I'm going to say, God, I need you to feed my kids. You say, well, I couldn't do that. Some of the greatest Christians you know did that. Some of the greatest missionaries in the world lived that way because they did what was their duty. And then they asked God, their heavenly Father, to feed them. See, we think success is never needing God to help me. That's not success, that's an atheist. That's godless. God will put you, I tell you, God will put you in a spot where you need him. All these natural disasters, floodings and hurricanes and things going on around America right now. And 8 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, when COVID hit, did it ever occur to you that maybe somebody knew what they were doing in politics and God just humbled them enough to realize they couldn't do it on their own? I don't want a president that doesn't once in a while bow his head and say, God, I don't know what to do. That's what I want going on in that White House. I don't care if all his policies are right. Then let the wind blow a building over or something. We need God. We want our leaders to need God. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And we need that desperately. And you need it. So set priorities in spending. Promise money. Overdue bills. If you have to make an arrangement with a bill collector, talk to him. Figure it out. Whatever you need to do. And again, you might need some counsel. The one before, this number 4, get advice. But you need to set priorities. If you're not in trouble, you're just what your bills are getting paid, but you want to get out of debt, then set some priorities. Tithe. How can we rob God and ask him then to bless our finances? Can't do that. You just can't do that. And you want to keep your commitments. I don't think he'd mind me saying this. One of our members from many years ago, Don Foster, Don and Irene were faithful members here, got saved here and served for many years. When Don and Irene, he retired from his work here and went to work for a Christian group in Arizona. Don called me up or came and talked to me, I forget what, and he had been at the missions conference and he'd made a pledge for X dollars. I have no idea what it was, but he made a pledge for this year. He's going to give so much money a week or a month, whatever it was, to missions. And he said, now preacher, we're moving, but I want you to know I will keep my missions pledge up throughout the whole year. That's called integrity. Him moving to a different state and a different church, it did not erase his commitment here. Now his tithe should have gone with him to his church, I think. But he'd made a promise to our missions program. And I would never have said anything. I wouldn't have known. I don't keep track of who gives what here. I can't afford to do that. If I knew you had a whole bunch of money and I saw you didn't give any, I'd preach whole sermons at you every Sunday. And so it's just not good that I know. If I preach at you, you can be sure it's just broadly vague because I don't know. But number 1, put God first, then put your commitments next. There's a couple many years ago. They became very solid workers here, Sunday school teachers and all. But they said, well, we moved into our new place. It took a little while. The husbands tell me it took a while to get in and get everything settled because in our other house we were renting, the utilities were in my name, but we got behind so far that the electric company or whoever it was, they won't open the utilities up in the new house in my name, so we had to put it in my wife's name. So they just trade off each rental whose house the utilities are in. Not a way to get that mercy of God. You need to go back and face it and say, I've overspent. I have messed up. What can I do to make this thing right? To confess and forsake is key. Set priorities, overdue bills. I just be in the absence of Mr. Beal. How is your Christian school tuition? I'll tell you one thing how it is. It's half of what most every Christian school in the area is. But besides that, you have Christian school tuition, and you put your kids in the school, and you pay every other bill. But see, you expect the church to carry the load for your Christian school bill. Why? Why is your Christian school bill any less right to pay than your electric bill or your mortgage? Well, I just don't know how I can keep the kids in the Christian school. Collect aluminum cans. Sell candy bars. Right now, you'd be selling chocolate milk. Get your kids on a bicycle with a trailer and a basket. Tell them to ride around the lake and pick up every aluminum can and bottle. And look, we're going to get to that in a minute. Come up with extra income. It's right. You know, Mr. Beal and I, and sometimes with the deacons, we sit here and we wrestle, Brother Brett, and we wrestle with church finances, trying to figure out how to keep it all together. Sure help if people pay their Christian school bill. And I want all your kids in our Christian school. I want all those kids that ride our buses in our Christian school. Our school teachers are already getting paid about half of what they could get paid if they went somewhere else and taught. Our teachers teach here because they love what they're doing and who they're doing it with. All right, gone from preaching to meddling there for a while. Look at number 6. Number 6, pray. You got to keep praying. Pray about your finances. But prayer without putting feet to your prayers is of no value. God, help me with my finances. Do something. Pray. All right, so number 6, create a bare bones budget. Again, you may need help with this, but you ought to create what has to get paid. If you want to take a month, or for me, I just had a long list. On the 1st of the month, this is due. On the 10th of the month, this is due. On the 15th, this is due. On the 20th, this is due. And have a list of that. And that money's got to be there. And groceries are not on that. Insurance is on that. Gas money's on that. And we've got to somehow figure out how to pay what we owe honestly. Prioritize things. Housing, utilities, food, transportation. Figure it out. Every dollar needs to go to a budgeted item. And the word is called self-discipline. The problem is we have very little of that. You know, one of the reasons you should insist your children listen the moment you speak? Because they got to learn to be disciplined. And a kid who can ignore their parent, hey, shut the video game off and go do whatever. If the video game does not shut off, you are raising an undisciplined child who will then be an undisciplined employee, who will then be an undisciplined debtor. And that's the problem in our country, in the economic world. So we need discipline. You know, all a jail is because somebody could not discipline themselves enough to do right. They end up in prison, so it's forced discipline. And when you lose all your money and you go bankrupt and somebody has to take everything from you, you'll find out then somebody is causing you to be disciplined. So create a budget and decide what you're going to do. I mean, I remember, I don't think Mrs. Record would mind me saying this since I've already started to say it. And she's not here anyway, right, Brother Record? 40 plus years ago, Mrs. Record came and she'd gotten saved. And she was just a young gal. I mean, she was a kid, but living alone and money barely paid things. And so she'd come to our house, and we'd take her paycheck, and we'd put it in envelopes. This is for gas. This is for rent. This is for food. And we set up envelopes. Why envelopes? Because sometimes a spreadsheet with all your money in your wallet isn't as effective. Because if there's money in my wallet, why can't I spend it? So a spreadsheet is not as effective as, I want a Coke. And she had a Coke envelope for she drank her soda. And we'd open the envelope, and when there's no money in the Coke envelope, she didn't get any Coke that week. Say, well, and I didn't make her. She came to us for help. And so Mrs. Goddard and I sat there. Well, you go to Mrs. Record now, ask him. She is a monster budgeting machine. She is like a budget on steroids. She could straighten out Elon Musk and the U.S. government. She is a beast when it comes to that kind of thing. But she was young, and she just had, sometimes you just got to get started. You got to learn those principles. And she has become, I'm not exaggerating that. He can ask Brother Record. That's why he didn't have anything. No. But we're close enough, the Records and I are close enough that they're amazing what God has done for them. See, what happens is this. You want mercy. You want God's mercy on you. And so you do this right. You get good advice. You pray over your giving. You create a budget. You stop spending what you shouldn't spend. And you're doing these things. And you pray for mercy. And God says, you know what? I can see they're really trying. Let's drop this into their life. And he begins to give you things. But as long as you ignore good financial principles, why should God give you anything? And so we want to so live and to seek his help that God's mercy will come down. So create a bare bones budget. If you don't know how to do that, you should talk to one of us about it. Number 7, pray, pray, pray. You got to keep praying. That's all through this. Build a small emergency fund. Most people would say get at least a few $100s. Some people say 6 months, which I've never had 6 months money saved up. That's a joke. but maybe you can do that. But you want a little money, so if something goes wrong, okay, a tire blows out, I need a new tire. What do? Put it on the credit card. No, I've got that money in the bank, in the envelope, or in the piggy bank, whatever. But create something that'll keep you away from that credit card. If your credit card is out of control, cut it up. Burn it. Confess it, forsake it, and burn it. Number 8, look at the verse in your notes, Psalm 37. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again. You have to pay your debts. You have to pay your debts. There's 2 methods, and I'll just take a moment on this. And you could get help. We've got people in our church who could help you with this. Let's just say you have 6 items that you owe money to. You know, a car, a credit card, anyway, whatever your 6 things are. You owe Starbucks your firstborn child. You've got your items here. And you've got those 6 things, who you owe it to, how much is the total you owe, what the interest rate is, when the payment's due, what the minimum payment is, whatever. You never pay the minimum payment on the main item. So you got your 6 things here. Now, another way to set it up, you set it up with the one with the highest interest at the top. This way you set it up, you set the smallest debt at the top. The reason you do this is for people like me who need encouragement. I need to know it's working. So my lowest debt is I owe $100. It's $10 a month I got to pay. And so I can get that paid off fast because I just quit buying soda for a month and I'll have my $100. And then my next item I owe $500. So I take, as soon as that $100 is paid off, which will happen very fast, then I roll all of that payment money into my second item. And it's getting done. I don't start spending it. It's all paid, now I can spend more money. No, it goes into the second item. And then when the second item is paid off, you roll that money in. So now we're taking 1, 2, and 3 money and putting it on number 3. And so that's quicker. Better financial wisdom, most people would think, and I'm not going to argue with you because I'm not the financial wizard, get rid of the highest interest rate first. Unless it's your house, which hopefully your house is not the highest interest rate. In that case, sell the house. I'll rent you my garage. Maybe. Get the highest item because that will financially, you'll save more money quicker. You pay your highest one. But you do the same thing. You take that money that was on your top bill, roll it over. Now you've got first and second bill being paid on number 2. Then you can take 1, 2, and 3. And if you don't understand that, we have computer programs. You can punch your debt in, and it'll tell you when it all gets paid off. You don't need a lot of extra money. You need a little extra money. So get a plan. Get a plan. And if you don't know how to get a plan, please speak to one of us. We'll help you with that. And I wouldn't go to a stranger on this. But you do whatever you think. And then again, keep praying. Pray over your finances. You have no, if you've been in debt for a long time and if you struggle with your bills, you have no idea how good it is to open that note and have it say balance 0. It is such a peaceful thing. That ought to be your desire. Number 9, find extra income. Find extra income. There are so many things. Just teasing Brother Brett, but he starts selling coffee in his front yard. Better yet, put Blake out there selling coffee in the front yard. Find a way. Find a way to help your kids make money, whether it be babysitting or cleaning or mowing lawns. One of our men years ago, there was a difficult economic time, and he was out of work for a while, not a long time, but a while. He just took his lawnmower up and down the street, grown man, 3 or 4 kids, and he said, I just went door to door, said, I'll mow your lawn for whatever you give me. I'm out of work right now, and I got to keep the bills paid. And he kept his bills paid doing that. Are you willing to just find a way to come up with extra money? There's people all over. You've seen them walking down the street with 2 bags of bottles and cans on their back. I mean, huge. And I think, how many hours it took them to gather all that? It's like $30. But you know what? $30 in this pay each note off thing, $30 becomes a lot of money. And let your kids pick up cans. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want them to get dirty. Your kids need to get dirty. Just don't let them have a bath for a week. Remember the days you had a bath on Saturday? Anybody old enough to remember that? You had a bath on Saturday, so you'd be clean on Sunday. That's the day you wanted to see the girls at church. The one day you were clean. Everybody's grossed out right now. Grossed out is you were the last kid in the tub. Everybody else bathed before you. That's grossed out. And that's not preaching. That's real life, okay? having to get in the bathtub after my brother got out. Who knows what's in that water? My mom's here. I shouldn't talk about that. But file child abuse charges. You pray, and God will help you find a way to get some money. There's a way. Sell stuff. You know how full our garages are? Number 10, dramatically cut your spending. Trade your beef for beans. Do you know most of the world lives with either beans or rice as their main staple? Our main staple is sugar and soda and chips and burgers and my wife now Taco Bell. Sacrifice the short term for the long term. Figure out what you can cut. Cut things down. You could get along with one car, most of you. It would be horrible. It would be. You could carpool kids to school at $4 a gallon. You know, gas all over the country has gone down, but in California, some wonderful politicians have kept putting more taxes on it, so our gas has not gone down hardly at all. Thank the Lord for California. And when you mess up, see, I tried budgeting and I messed up. The just man falleth 7 times and rise up again. Don't quit. Try it again. Try it again. Go to your AA meeting. Hi, my name's Bruce, and I am in debt, and I messed up and used a credit card this week. Hi, Bruce. And I'm going to try to not do it again. Good job, Bruce. Do you know why Weight Watchers is popular all over the country? Because they're accountable. I walk in there, and I've never been to an AA meeting or a Weight Watchers meeting. I get on that scale. Hey, get some accountability. I've got to stop because I want to go somewhere else. Number 12, find ways to be encouraged. Do it with somebody else. Find some other people. You young people, I remember one of our young men went off to Bible college, and he was a knucklehead. And came home after 9 months in college. He had $17,000 on a credit card. And nothing to show for it. I mean, nothing. It wasn't paying his school bill. It was eating out and buying new shoes and, wanted this and wanted that. If you paid anyway, Google it sometime. Ask ChatGPT. If I owe $10,000 on a credit card at 15% interest and I pay the minimum, how long will it take me? And ChatGPT will just put the word forever. Forever. Never pay the minimum. Pay the minimum. Look, if you lined up 5 or 6 things, pay the minimum on all these, and then max that one. Dump in everything you possibly can so that you can get it paid off and then roll it over. You pay the minimum down here because you're going to get down there and you're going to be paying 3 and 4 and 5 times. Track your progress. That's why every month, have that thing down there. Track your progress. See some victory. Have a celebration. Say every month we get down, then we get to go on a date to Taco Bell like Preacher and his wife. Number 12, don't look for shortcuts. Don't look for payday loans. Don't look for consolidating loans are almost never wise. And I'm not the financial wizard. There may be times, but you're better off paying off each one of those things than lumping it all into one giant debt. That's just my opinion, and it's opinion of a lot of people. Don't borrow money to pay off other money. I've got a hole in the backyard, and I need to get rid of the hole, so I go over here and I dig a hole to put the dirt in the hole. That's how a lot of people are with their finances. I got this credit card offer, and it's 0% on any transfers. Oh, God bless you. Refinancing. You just kicked you've been paying for 10 years in that 30-year note. Now you're refinancing. Now you're back to a 30-year note. The first 10 years are the worst years for interest and for the money you're giving the bank. And sell a child. Don't refinance. And maybe there are times you should refinance. Okay. Lastly, learn to keep financial freedom in front of you. Learn. Read some books. I am not a total Dave Ramsey person. I think if I followed Dave Ramsey, this church wouldn't be here. Because I came to California by faith. And Dave Ramsey doesn't do that. He'd have had me get rich and stay in Indiana, and I'd had hurricanes and chiggers and mosquitoes as big as, houses. And anyway, but you can get some principles from someone like that. Be very guarded that they don't guide your philosophies. If they don't put tithe as number one and prayer all through it and some Bible. And again, there's a lot of people like him, but learn, get it where it bothers you. When that credit card statement comes in, if you can't pay it to zero, it's running you. You got to hate it. You need to develop a hatred for drugs, for liquor, for pornography, and for debt. I mean, develop a hatred. Because those things will eat you up. And you young people, you just wait. Somebody's going to say, oh, hey, you could do this. It won't hurt you to get a credit card, and then you'll get this and this, and we'll give you do this. I remember the young people, can I just say this? You don't have a brain in your head. Not when it comes to life things, big things. One of our many, many years ago, maybe Steve Rowe is old enough to remember this couple. I don't even think he would, and he's old. But we were in Pasquale's clubhouse, our first building, and one of our couples had led this family to Christ, and they were both the young people. They were 18, 19 years old, and they usually came soul winning. The young man, he called me and said, hey, preacher, I'm not going to make it to soul winning Saturday. I said, what's going on? And he said, well, my sister wants to go to Corona and look for a car, and I'm going to go in to make sure she doesn't get taken advantage of. And I said, all right. Now, no, 18, 19-year-olds do not go buy a car. Now, you may be Mr. Miss Whiz, but probably not. Get your dad or your mom to go with you, or find somebody older. But anyway, so he went with her on Saturday, and Sunday morning, they both drove into church with new cars. Matching cars. Dumb. If you've never been through chemotherapy, you don't know. And if you've never been in serious debt, you don't know. You have no idea the bondage. And some of you think you can toy with sin like drugs and liquor and pornography, and you can't toy with it. You can't. It is demonic, and it's consuming. And debt is right in there. It will eat you up. It'll split your marriage. And these are just some helps. If you're looking at this thinking, I need this, but I don't think I can do all this, talk to me. I'll get you in touch with somebody, and we'll help. There's people right here in this room. There's at least a handful of people I think right here who would talk to you and help you walk through these things and help you lay these things out. Be careful. If you don't have any debt right now, would you just thank God? You say, oh, my car barely runs. Thank God. It's probably paid for. If your car barely runs and it's not paid for, then that was a bad buy. Anyway, Father, help us to be guarded with our finances, that we might not be rich, but that we might be rich toward others. Give us wisdom. Bless especially all these young people. Help them be careful. Help them to be so very careful with their debt. Bless them and direct us, Father, in a way that our lives could honor you more. In Jesus' name, amen.
If I could just make a quick announcement.